Hello everyone, welcome to the 7th KK chess series. Today we're going to continue to talk about chess openings and answer some of the previous questions I received in some of the comments. So first, what are dark black square bishop and light white square bishops? These two bishops are considered as dark or black squared bishops. That means that they can only move on the dark squares or the black squares, and they can never ever go to a light square or a white square. Since the bishop can only move diagonally, this bishop can simply never reach the white square. Similarly, black's dark square bishop, that means the word black means that it is a black bishop, and dark square bishop, dark square means that it moves on dark squares. This black's dark square bishop and white's dark square bishop can never ever reach a light square. Similarly, these two bishops are called light square bishops or white square bishops. They can never ever reach a dark square. So this is what dark square bishop and light square bishop means. So moving on, I've also received some comments that some of you didn't understand why these 6 pieces are considered pretty developed in this position. Now I will further explain why in this video. So what do we call a pretty developed piece? It means that it is actually functioning or doing something in this position. Or in other words, there's no better squares in this position than this square as it occupies. So why is this? Let's first look at white's queen. We're only going to look at from white's perspective since black's pieces just mirrors white. So the white queen. White queen on d1 should be considered one of the best squares on the board. If you were to take the queen off the board and place it somewhere else on the board, where would you put it? So here are some suggestions. The queen can be put on b3 square. b3 square can attack the b7 pawn, hindering black's development of the white square bishop, and potentially aiming at the f7 pawn. This square seems pretty good, but black can counter it by playing knight a5, attacking the queen and the bishop at the same time. So white has to move its queen away, then black can capture the white's bishop, white capture its back. Then we see that the queen on c4 is actually not doing much. Although it aims at the f7 pawn, it doesn't threaten the king that much since it is still guarded by the rook and the king at the same time. Furthermore, black can simply develop its white square bishop and attack the queen simultaneously, so you would have to move this queen away. Therefore, the queen on b3 is actually not a very good square. So what other squares would the queen would like to go to? Maybe at a4, but looking closely at the queen on a4, it is actually not doing much. Is it threatening the knight? No, black's pawn is guarding it, and black has no way of advancing this pawn. It is pointless for black to do that. And the queen is attacking the a7 pawn. But it is guarded by already 3 pieces of black, so it is actually doing nothing. Furthermore, the queen on a4 offers black a potential fork tactic. When black plays a6, then plays b5. Let's play it. This b5 pawn is attacking the queen and the bishop at the same time, so you will have to give up one of the pieces. So in conclusion, the queen is not good in b3 or a4 square. So how about another square at, for example, g3? It is pinning the black king and attacking the g7 pawn. It is threatening to play bishop to a6, forming a small checkmate threat on g7. However, white cannot play bishop to a6 at this position since black can play knight a5, guarding this pawn and attacking the queen simultaneously. So the queen is considered not really good in g3 square, but it should be better than b3 and a4. However, when we look at the queen at its original position, what is it doing? So it is offering a potential choice of advancing a d3 pawn to d4. If black moves away one of its pieces, then white has the choice to advance its pawn to d4, controlling the center and expanding its territory. So black cannot move away these three pieces. So we see that the queen is actually doing something, not much, but doing something on the d1 square, and we cannot find a better square on the board for it to go. So the queen is considered pretty well developed in d1. And to say, the previous three squares we've discussed in this position, it is pretty hard to move the queen there. Like, it's impossible to move the queen to b3 or a4 or g3 without 3 or 4 moves. And that is kind of a waste of moves. So the queen is considered pretty well developed and pretty good placed at d1. Similarly for the rooks, f1 rook and a1 rook, they don't have really good places to put them. Now the f1 rook is guarding the f2 pawn. So in the future, if black applies more pressure, for example, on the f2 pawn, white is ready. And for the a1 rook, in the future, white may want to advance its queenside pawns, or this a2 pawn or b2 pawn. Then the rook would support the pawn to advance forward. So this a1 rook is considered pretty good. f1 too. So let's look at another example that would better help us understand what developed pieces is. In this position, you don't have to know how we got to this position. It's an opening of the French advance where white advances e5 and plays a3 immediately. It's black to move, and white's plan is to play knight b3, knight c5, taking the c5 square. Now, it will be pretty annoying for black if white actually takes control of the c5 square with its knight. So, what can black do? In this position, white's square bishop is not very well developed at d7. We will further discuss that in our middle game videos. So, one of the optimal black moves is to actually move its black knight back to b8. Now, why would black want to do that? Black advances its knight to c6, then it wants to move it back to b8. So, from the perspective of developed pieces, the knight is not well developed at c6 square, but it is okay to put it there. It is threatening the d4 pawn along with its queen, but white is also pretty well in defending it, and black cannot apply more pressure to this d4 pawn. So at the moment, the knight on c6 is not actually doing much. However, the more important thing is to stop white from playing knight b3 and then knight c5. By playing knight to b8 temporarily, if white plays knight b3, black can play bishop to a4, pinning the knight on b3. And that is, white cannot move its knight away. If so, black will capture white's queen, and white is not willing to do that. So therefore, white will want to remain its piece on b3. If white plays something like bishop to c2 in the next move, threatening to play knight c5, black can simply just offer a trade off the knight, and white has no knight to put on c5 at the moment. And so when we look at we look back at this knight, it is not doing much. This knight is not doing much actually on the c6 square, so it doesn't make a big difference when putting it on the c6 square or the b8 square. So naturally, we can move our developed piece back to our original square, because through the change of the position, this piece that used to be well developed may not be developed in this position. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and if you really like it, please follow.